Thank you. I'd like to begin by thanking the shadow rapporteurs very much for their good collaboration on this report. Mr. President, energy efficiency is vital for cutting carbon emissions, enhancing security of supply and boosting economic efficiency too. In October 2006, the Commission produced an action plan for energy efficiency, proposing a 20% improvement in energy efficiency by 2020 and setting out 10 priority areas for action. These range from appliances to buildings and transport and included financial incentives, energy efficiency awareness and much more. EU heads of state endorsed the Commission's action plan last March. And energy efficiency made the headlines because Chancellor Merkel declared that inefficient incandescent light bulbs should be banned. Now it's the Parliament's turn to assess the action plan, and I hope that our report will send out a strong signal about what MEPs want to see happen on energy efficiency. The first signal that this report makes is that some of the Commission's proposals don't quite go far enough. I'd like to give 3 examples. First, the proposal to revise the Energy Performance of Buildings Directive. The Commission proposes minimum energy performance requirements for buildings and for building components, which is good. Buildings are key to cutting energy demand. Over 40% of the energy we use is consumed in buildings, and 75% of the buildings standing today will still be here in 2050, so we need to tackle energy efficiency in existing buildings as well as in new stock. But we shouldn't just be lowering the 1,000 metre squared threshold in the Energy Performance of Buildings Directive. We should be getting rid of it altogether and applying the directive to all buildings requiring heating and cooling, regardless of size. We also need to bring forward the deadline for a passive house standard for residential and non-residential buildings across Europe. It's not good enough just to have this as a medium-term goal. Secondly, on appliances, the Parliament's report welcomes the proposal to put in place minimum energy performance requirements coupled with a dynamic system of energy labelling to keep up with advances in technology. But our report calls on the Commission to come forward with a 1 watt performance requirement for standby and to carry out an analysis of the potential energy savings to be made from eliminating standby altogether. Our report also urges the Commission to set a timetable for taking completely off the market some very energy inefficient items of equipment, such as patio heaters. Thirdly, the report calls for more help for small businesses, which are particularly affected by rising fuel prices and in need of energy efficiency. Unfortunately, both EU and national financing schemes tend to be complex. It's fine if you're a big company, but if you're a micro business with a handful of employees, you don't have the capacity to access complex programs. Small businesses need to be treated like domestic households and offered simple schemes and upfront money. So that's the first message of the report, that we need to go a little bit further. The second big message is that there has been a failure by both the Commission and national governments to implement existing energy efficiency legislation. The Commission's action plan for saving 20% by 2020 isn't a standalone plan. It builds very heavily on previous legislation, and the implementation of this legislation has been a disgrace. The Buildings Directive has only been properly transposed by a handful of member states. 6 months after the 30th of June deadline, a third of member states have still not submitted their national energy efficiency action plans. The Commission hasn't put in place all the 20 extra staff it said were necessary to deliver energy efficiency commitments, and for that reason the timetable on the action plan has slipped. But I would, however, like to thank the Commission for responding in a very positive and constructive manner to the criticisms voiced in this report, and in particular the exchange of letters between Commissioner Peebles and Mrs Niebler, which has brought an update to the Parliament on the situation. Thank you.